Okay, kids, it's time for another episode of the Fueled by Weird podcast, the only podcast where anyone or anything can be a superhero. I'm Chris Daly, and today I'd like to welcome to the show Richard Fairgray. Richard, what's going on, sir?
Oh, the usual, just being overworked and exhausted, and here I am. I'm just really happy. I had this little moment where I looked at myself on the screen and I realized that the place where I just dropped mac and cheese on myself right before we started is showing. So I'm just crushing it, I guess.
Hey, that's okay. You know, the life of creative is tough and it's hard, and but that's why we do it. We don't do it for the kudos. We do it for the
Do it for
pleasure
the
of creating,
money.
right?
Do it for the money.
There you
Do it
go.
for millions of dollars.
There you go. Well, all right, sir. Well, I'm super glad to have you on. I've missed out on chances in the past to interview you, especially when I was with Geek Network. I think you talked to Daniel a whole bunch of times. So I'm excited to talk to you today. Um, yeah, I'm excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. I mean, my whole career has been turned upside down in the past 5 years, like a solid three times. And so here I find myself, and like always in good ways, but like I looked the other day. I have 5,000 business cards
Oh wow.
to hand out before it's time to get new business cards. And I looked at the date of the order for those business cards, and I've given out maybe like another, like I've given out, like, I'm about halfway through a 10,000 business card order because I was like, I need proper business cards. And the date of the order is 1 week before the convention where everything changed again. And now I have a whole lot of new information that I have to give people, and the business cards are completely fucking outdated. And I'm just like stubbornly going to continue giving them to people and just say, that's my name. Google me and then find my other things, please.
There you go. Well, we'll definitely help get the word out to help get updated information in the world.
You know what? I should just, like, it would be so easy for me to just get like set up a Linktree and
Mm.
put a QR code on my table. It shows, and it's right there. Do I do it? No, I don't do it because I hate the internet. So instead,
I get it.
I talk to people and I say, here's my card, please. Or like if I run out of cards at a show, I'm now like, take a picture of my name and I have my name on the side of my glasses so that they can, and then they think I'm being like a weirdo. It's a whole, listen, it's fine. I'm now, if you talk to me, if you had, when I first started doing like a lot of podcast interviews, which is like 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
I would have been on here saying I used to make picture books and now I've sort of transitioned more into like middle grade horror for 8 to 12 year olds. A year later, it was, no, I'm very much like fully in that world. That is everything I'm doing. It's occupying all of my time. And then 2 years after that, it would have been, yes, I'm doing that, but I've also started doing this one other little thing. It's kind of more grown up. It's a little, oh, look, my entire fucking career has been thrown up in the air because now I'm doing grown up books for dirtbags, gays, and ladies. It's all memoirs and dick sucking. I'm churning out 20 books a year, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. I'm now like, the brand is Richard Sucks. I had this big cancer scare where they thought I had they found a lump in my neck. Turns out scar tissue from giving too many blowjobs too enthusiastically because I've done the fucking work. And so I'm like, that's it. Richard Sucks. That's the branding. Bottle of Poppers is my logo. I am good to go. And I will make, like, my work will surprise you by how sincere it is. It will surprise you by how dirty it is and how funny it is, all in a good balance. And everything will be great. And then there we go, 10,000 business cards. 1 week later, I'm at a show in Cleveland, and there's an after party where I have to be signing posters and shit. And uh, the this guy comes up to me and he says, "Can you do a sketch on my poster?" And I said, "What do you want me to do a sketch of?" And he says, "I don't know." And my friend Aaron just leans back and goes, "Richard's really good at drawing dicks." And the guy's like, "Oh, can you draw a dick for me?" So it's like, "Sure." So I draw him a dick. I end up doing 57 dicks on posters that night.
Wow.
Next day, they run out of coffee in the green room, so I draw a dick on an empty cup, put up a little sign that says, "Bring me a small black coffee and you can have this cup." I got 16 free coffees bought for me that day.
Jesus Christ.
So then the following week, I'm in Toronto for another show. I just put up a sign that says, "Dick pics by request, $20." Now I have 10,000 business cards that do not mention Dicks by Richard, dicksbyrich.com, dickstarter.net, Dicks by Richard on Blue Sky. I didn't even think I had Blue Sky when I got those business cards made. And so now you go to a show, I'm the fucking dick guy. I still get to do everything else, but like
Yeah.
I'm the dick guy now. And it's wonderful because as I have said too many times, everybody has to be the Michael Jordan of something, you know?
There you go. And you're just all you're doing is just adding more things to your portfolio, and that's okay. That's never a bad thing.
It is that concern though that like you'll find a thing that will overwhelm. Like there was a
Yeah.
where I was making like a pretty broad range of comics, but then I had this one that was about a crime fighting dinosaur, and it was the only thing people would they'd be like, you are the dinosaur guy, you are the Blastosaurus guy,
Yeah.
and I'm it made me really resentful of my dinosaur who I loved very much, but I don't want to become resentful of dicks, you know.
I get it. That's cool that you had a dinosaur book. I've actually had an idea for a dinosaur book for a while. I just haven't done anything with it because life happens. So
Yeah,
there's always room for dinosaur books.
there's always look. I have every intention of rebooting my dinosaur book. Now that
Yeah.
I'm to it again, but like, who has the time? Do you know how long it takes
Yeah.
to draw scales?
I get it. I mean, I'm not an artist, but I mean, I get it. Yeah. My idea is it's more secret agent. I was reading a book by Felicia Day once and she had mentioned something about a dinosaur in a tuxedo to get
Mm.
like an idea for something. I'm like, that's so stupid. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Dino like double O Dino, like 007, but double O Dino. I'm like, okay, that's kind of an awesome idea, I think.
Mine, so Blastosaurus was he's a 6 foot tall mutant triceratops, and everyone assumes that will make him like basically a superhero.
Yeah.
But is like he's just a man shaped like a triceratops, and that makes everything a lot harder for him because like he has to get pants with a special tail hole. He can't wear regular shoes. He can't really fit comfortably in a car.
Right.
Uh, Everyone wants him to be like a mascot figure for them. So while the book was ostensibly about him being this crime fighting triceratops, who did often wear a tuxedo, by the way,
Nice.
um, it was far more about him like just really he really wanted to be a dry cleaner because he really liked the smell of the chemicals. And I ended up I would as I got more resentful of what people wanted from the book, I started doing like spin-offs. I did a thing called Blastosaurus Extremely Human, and it's just one page strips of him like how he chooses his breakfast cereal, or like trying to get friends to come and play with specific sizes of model train, or finding out that he's technically not a herbivore since his mutation and that he's low in iron, and then eating a lot of ham and then discovering that ham doesn't really increase your iron and just having a tummy ache.
That's so incredible. Like I'm excited for if you ever get a chance to bring that back because that sounds incredible. Just the fact that he is a superhero not by choice, but just because he has to, but he actually really wants to be a dry cleaner. That's so good.
There was like a long period where I was like collaborating on it with a really terrible person who was not contributing anything but just had a lot of psychological hold on me.
Sure.
And the only influence that he really had on the book was he wanted it to feel like the type of books he'd liked when he was a kid. And it kept pushing Blasto more and more into that realm of the crime fighter.
Yeah.
And when I got out from under him, I collaborated with someone else on it, uh, who was wonderful to work with and was like very open to everything I wanted to do. But then we immediately sold it to a company or had it optioned by a company who wanted it to be kid friendly, and were quite dumb. Like just they were very challenged by the storylines of things, and so I'd have to do things like I would show it to the editor, and then he would come back to me with questions, and I would have to like find a 10-year-old to read it and see if they understood because the editor didn't understand the end of the story, and then have to get like children to explain things to this adult man. Um, and so there's just been like so many different incarnations of this thing where it's, not been what I wanted it to be, or it's been compromised. And so this new version, and I've written the first script. It'll be I think I'm just going to do it as like a graphic novel run, like no single issue bullshit.
Nice.
And the first, it's a now like it's a world where being a mutant triceratops is not really that unusual. Like it's not everybody, but like he's a local hero,
Yeah.
uh, probably famous in a 6 block radius.
Yeah.
And it's about him being retired from that life and being kind of dragged back into it because the government and the police force want to have like more control over the mascot figures and are kind of generating new ones. Um, and I think it could be really good. He is, and because I get to do what I want, he actually well, it's sort of halfway to his dream because I realized I didn't want to have to draw dry cleaning bags, so he lives above and works in a laundromat that doesn't obey the laws of time and space because of a thing that went wrong during one of his adventures.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'll draw it one
awesome.
day.
That's
Uh,
awesome. I'm crossing my fingers because that sounds so cool. I would be right there lined up first in line. That sounds awesome.
also, it's one of those things where I have so many covers for Blastosaurus that have been done by other people
Yeah.
that never been released because like I didn't want to put them on the other version, whatever.
Yeah.
So like I have, I can see it from where I am right now, and you can't. So haha. But I have this like incredible Derek Robertson Blastosaurus cover, and it's him punching through a wall. So it's like very dynamic and cool. But if you've read the book, you know that everything on the wall is like knockoff Blastosaurus merchandise. So it's him like punching through the mascot status thing. Somewhere else in here, I have a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, which I did the colors on. And I will redo those colors because I did those colors a decade ago now. But then I can casually be like, oh yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz, he's one of my collaborators. You know how it is. And I need to just fucking put these things out. I had a long
Yeah.
conversation this weekend about how I need to take the business side of my dicks more seriously and not just draw a few dicks each day and throw them out into the world. I need to be structured and clever and actually pull the trigger on enamel pins and t-shirts and calendars. I'd love to do a dick a day calendar, like just to have it just sitting there on your desk with a little note that said like cure your homophobia through immersion therapy.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, merch I think would do really good. It's just, it's like you said, it's just who has the time for that kind of stuff. You need to hire like extra people to help do that stuff.
Exactly.
It's hard. All right, sir. Well, even though we've already got started, I usually like to start these things off with an icebreaker question. So today's icebreaker question is, what's the worst job you've ever had?
Comic book writer. I've never had another job. No, I always say that it's a little bit untrue. I've only really had 3 jobs in my life. I, I started publishing comics when I was 7.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and so by the time I finished college, I was making more money in college from comics than I would if I got a grown-up job. But I thought I had to get a grown-up job. And so I
Yeah.
very briefly worked as a substitute teacher. But on like, I think my 3rd day, I was editing a film and working that job. And on my 3rd day, I got word that one of my books had been found by a certain person who wanted to option them. And so I very quickly ended that and immediately was like the option all fell apart, by the way. Everything always falls apart in these things,
Sure.
but like it was enough for me to go, oh, actually I could do this. Like this isn't just a hobby through school. This is a real job. Um, and then the only other job I've ever had is one summer, right out of high school, I painted murals for a honey factory. And it was just a job that I took because it sounded funny. And it was great because like the mural painting, I'm quite a bad painter. But the mural painting was whatever. What was cool about it was that on Saturdays, I was alone in the factory with a very irresponsible man who would come to me and say, "Hey, Richard, you look bored. Do you want to unbolt the honey stirring machines from the floor and race them?" And I was like, "Fuck, yes, I do."
That's
And so we
awesome.
would hop on top of these enormous drums and just vibrate across the floor until the like power cord reached its end. And then we like bolted them back on and like put everything back in exactly as it was meant to be, so no one would know. And then Monday morning, I come in and I get there early, and he is there, and he looks panicked. I'm like, what's going on? and he's got a lot of like honey on his hands and arms. And he says, "Come downstairs." And directly below the room where we had been racing these things, the stirrers basically plugged back into a tube that slowly fed the honey out into jars and what have you. And he hadn't reattached that part properly.
Oh
And so
God.
honey had been dripping out for like 48 hours at this point. And he takes me down to this room and he opens the door and then slams it closed immediately, because as he does, we see this like wall of honey, of an entire room full of honey, slowly just start to like come out at us. And he's
Oh
like,
my
"I don't know
God.
what to do." I'm like, "We got to start scooping," because this is like Manuka active honey, so it's like
Yeah.
$45 for a little jar, and we now have a room full of it.
Jesus Christ.
So like I don't want to say that was the worst job, because that was actually quite sick. I guess like the 1 hour of my life where I technically had to be a woodwork teacher.
Yeah.
Um, and I like walked around. I was like, "This looks like it could hurt me real bad. I'm gonna stand at the door, and you guys all have to just behave." And they did not. And I just kind of watched students hurt each other with hammers and shit for an hour. Felt quite guilty.
That kind of sounds awesome too. Watch a bunch of dumbass kids hit each other with hammers.
There was a boy in that class who had this little like plastic gun that shot
Mm,
little plastic pellets, like a
mm.
tiny little thing, couldn't hurt anyone. And I said to him, like, "You shouldn't have that, I think. I feel like you'll get in trouble for that." And he's like, "Do you want it?" I was like, "It is quite cool." And he's like, "I'll sell it to you for $5." I was like, "All right." So I give him $5. And then this rumor starts that it gets twisted that I had sold a gun to a student. And so by the end, and that was the last day I worked there, but by the end of that day, that was sort of swirling around as like, this guy, Mr. Fairgray, is selling guns to students. And then I never went back because I got this option on actually on Blastosaurus. Um, like he must have been fired. And every now and again, I would like run into someone at a convention who was like a kid from that school, being like, "Oh my God, you're that guy who sold guns to kids." I was like, "Yep, sure, why not?" Ugh.
Awesome. That's nowhere near my story seems to pale in comparison now. My worst job, I had to really think about it because I've had a lot of really shit jobs, but I worked at Sears Portrait Studio for a little bit, like a day, I think, and it was one of the most frustrating jobs I've ever had because growing up, well, not growing up, in high school, I was a photographer for the yearbook. So I kind of played around with getting into photography for my job. And so I thought, oh, this would kind of help me, get some real world experience. And I started working. We kind of were doing the thing about taking pictures, trying to make little kids laugh and all that. And they show me this like drawer that's like full of just pictures that people need to pick up that hadn't paid or whatever. So they're like, this is how much these people owe when they come. And so someone came and I'm like, all right, you owe this much. No, I don't. I already paid. And so I was like, I'm just telling you what they told me. And then the manager comes over and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I said they owe this much. And they said, no, they don't. They're like, oh, yep, they're right. Here you go. Here's your pictures. I'm like, this seems like a complete, like, why are we doing this? This seems so ridiculous. And so I just left and didn't come back and
Good
went
for you.
back to the job I left, which was
We,
at Subway, which wasn't that much better of a job, but still.
it's important to be a true sandwich artist. You can't just be a sandwich hobbyist, I've found.
It's true, and I'm pretty decent at that. They're actually sometimes we'll have sandwich night with the family, and I'm responsible for making the sandwiches because apparently I make them the best, and they make them
You
real
ever
pretty.
just go to Subway and pick up some sandwiches and say, like, "This is how good I am at making these."
I no, I've never done that because I mine are just as good, if not better, than Subway's.
Look,
I
I don't want to
actually
shit on Subway because obviously you're very loyal to that job, but I
Not
fucking
really.
hate
It was a terrible job and the manager was awful. But
it.
there's
I could
times where I'll go in and they'll be taking so long. I'm like, can I just jump back there and do it? Because I remember it's not difficult. Plus, all the recipes are taped up on the window. So if in case you forget. So yeah,
what I like about Subway is that, and I shouldn't give away this great life hack because it'll mean there were lines. There's never a line at Subway early in the morning during San Diego Comic Con, and
yeah,
so it's right by where the hotel shuttle drops everyone. So you just go and you buy a foot long sandwich. Just don't get anything too saucy, and
yeah.
you've got like, really cheap food for the entire day, and it's something you can always take like one bite off between customers.
It's true. They also don't keep very well. So if you're trying to have
Yeah, like
some for
it is a
for the
one
next
day
day,
sandwich. It's a
yeah,
one day
yeah,
sandwich, absolutely. But it's like it's just enough food to get through a full day on the floor at Comic Con.
it's true. Very true.
And and if you're ever in a situation where you need to sneak food in somewhere, a foot long Subway sandwich will slide nicely up your sleeve.
That I've never thought about. I used to work at a movie theater, and people would get real creative when it came to sneaking food in. Um, one person had come wearing shorts and big long tube socks, and they had a cheeseburger stuffed in the sock, trying to
Nice.
think they could sneak that in. And I just kind of let it go because I'm like, I don't want to know where your fries are, so just move it along. It's fine. I
You
don't
knew
care.
exactly where their fries were.
Yeah.
So what I used to do as a kid, my mother would get home from the grocery store and she would buy every week she would buy a box of 10 popsicles. And the first time she did it, there was like a big fight because there were three kids, so there was like one popsicle extra and I ate it.
Yeah.
And there was such a fight over all of it that my mother said that she was just not going to buy popsicles again. So then the next week she bought popsicles again, and I saw them come in, and I was going to help her carry the groceries out from the car. And so I just, on my way past my room, I just tossed the box of popsicles into my room, and then went in, got a pair of sweatpants, and put two hair ties. I but like basically I took my pants off, I put a hair tie around each ankle. I turned the sweatpants inside out and then put my feet into them from the bottom and then tucked the things under the hair ties and then pulled the sweatpants up so they're the right way in. But now they were like sealed around my ankles. And then
Yeah.
I put the box of popsicles into the sweatpants and then casually walked out because we had like an outdoor out I don't know what to call it, like a shed that was partially lined that was mostly used for my sisters to play drums in, but also had a TV in it. And I
Yeah.
would just, every week, I would just walk out there and eat all 10 popsicles because that way my sisters would never know they existed.
That's funny. Yeah, I had sisters growing up too, and stuff like that happened all the time. That's really funny. Um, so you had mentioned right before we started that you're kind of getting over, recovering from a con. I noticed that recently you spent some time in New Orleans at the Fan Expo. How did that go?
Oh, I love New Orleans. New Orleans is like my favorite city.
Yeah,
Uh, no, it's look, Los Angeles will always be my favorite city because it's like this perfect level of like grime and fear that I enjoy, and it's like livable. New
yeah,
Orleans and Paris are my two favorite cities to visit where I can be like the most unhinged version of myself for a limited amount of time because it would kill me if I stayed a week. New Orleans, so I get there and I look up I always go to like I try to find like the sleaziest gay sex club in every city I go to. I want men in leather over 65 telling me what to do. And that's the easiest shorthand to get that.
sure.
And I see in New Orleans that they have demolished the one that I liked. So I'm really bummed out. And so I go to this bar that I hadn't heard of before, but all the Yelp reviews are like, it's cheap, it's dirty. I'm like, great. So I go there and it's completely empty, except for like two old men playing pool. And so I'm like, great. So I ask, I do what I always do. When I go to a new bar, I go, oh, can I get a beer? And the person says, what kind of beer would you like? And then I'm immediately struck by the fact that I don't know anything about beer. And I get flummoxed and I go, oh, well, whatever kind of beer you think I should have, thank you. And then yeah, so he gives me the beer, it's $3. I'm like, fuck yeah. So I'll keep drinking this beer because now I can be like, same again, that was so good. And it actually wasn't very good, but like now I don't have to look like a dumbass.
Yeah,
And so I'm about three beers in, and this man comes up and starts talking to me about World War II museums. And I'm like, this is, I'm on fire right now. This is my perfect conversation. And like, I got heat to bring because I have been to a lot of World War II museums. And so we start
yeah.
like eating and comparing and deciding where our favorite ones are. And I'm giving him recommendations. And then at some point he orders a cocktail, and the bartender brings it to him and says, "That's $3." And I'm like, shit, I'm drinking beer and everything is $3. So look, long story short, I find out this bar is open 24 hours a day. In the
Wow.
4 days I'm in New Orleans for Fan Expo, I am there a total of 34 hours. because not
Jesus
only
Christ.
is it cheap alcohol,
Yeah,
not only is there a fetish shop in the back where someone gifted me a ball stretcher that I would say is too ambitious for a human.
sure.
So it be put on display with all my other weird shit I've been given by people over the years.
Yeah.
Uh, but also, it's completely okay for people to just start having sex anywhere in the bar. And so I'm just watching this go on around me. Just this sort of this like the bar is crowded like a normal bar, but it's like half orgy, half bar. And I'm like, oh, New Orleans, you know how to treat Richard right. This is
Wow.
it's there's I am the youngest person at this place by 10 years at least. I am
Wow.
in heaven.
Oh,
So,
that's wild.
but see, this is the problem though, is then like I'll be out there till 4 in the morning, then I get back to my hotel by 5, get 1 or 2 hours of sleep, and get up and do a full day at the show where I have to be like fully energized. And that's why I can do it for 3 or 4 days. I can't do it any longer. Last year, after I'd done 2 shows in a row, so I had my like 3 days off in the middle to recover. And then right after the second show, a friend of mine flew back to LA with me, and he set up a whole line of store signings through the week. And I was like, sure, those are like an hour or two a day, whatever, get a little bit extra cash. And he's in his 20s. And so he was able to just continue living the convention lifestyle, like a very different kind of partying to what I do, but
Yeah.
like level of energy. And suddenly I'm having to do it with him. And suddenly I've done 10 days in a row of this. And I'm also trying to get work done. And I think I like broke my entire body. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I've got no more conventions now for 3 weeks. So it's gonna be really chill. I have to draw and color 82 pages of comic and make 3 covers in those 3 weeks, but it's going to be super chill.
That's good. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you need to take some time to recharge.
I'm doing a joke. I don't get to recharge. I never get to recharge. I got in from Portland. I got home by like 3 a.m. and then I had uh my first meeting with someone in England via Zoom at 4 a.m. And then I had to do Kickstarter fulfillment immediately. And I'm in the middle of applying for my new work visa. And then I have to start the art on these 82 pages. Like it's one of the most physically labor intensive comics I've ever made. And it'll be no like I'll have no fun for the next 3 weeks. There will be no parties. There will probably I might not even go see a movie. And I try to see like 5 or 6 movies a week normally, but
Yeah.
I'm just to like work 24 hours now. And I'm launching this. I mean, from the time people hear this, the Kickstarter is live, but tomorrow morning I'm launching a Kickstarter, which I still have to build. So
Oh,
shit, I
gosh.
remembered I haven't built the Kickstarter campaign yet.
Oh, man.
And I gotta promote it. Everyone, if you want beautifully drawn dicks, Kickstarter.net.
There you go. And that's why you're here, helping promote the book. Um, but speaking of weird stuff, when you're not, doing art, when you're not writing, do you know what are some of the hobbies that you're into that, you like to use to pass the time when you're not working? Even though, it sounds like you're working quite a bit, but when you have some free time, it sounds like you go to movies. Are there anything else you do that, when you're free time?
No, it's just movies and sex clubs, basically. Like I get to do so much socializing at conventions. Um, and I'm doing usually 30 of those a year. So it's not like I'm really looking for additional things to occupy me. Is I don't,
Sure.
I love an aquarium, but I haven't been to an aquarium for 3 years. Um, I don't know. Like I get up at 4 in the morning every day and I immediately start work. And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
thrilled to do it. And when I'm not working, I like people try to get me to relax and I get very on edge about the whole thing. I
Yeah.
have a feeling of it and I get very scared that I'm gonna have too many ideas. And the big challenge for me has always been like, or like the question I've always had is how many comics can I make before I die? And so when people say, if you keep doing this, you're going to die, I say yes, and I'll have an answer. If I die tomorrow, the answer is 343 books. If I
Yeah.
die in 3 weeks, it might be 347 books if I can finish all the art.
Yeah, I get that. I'll try, and my wife will tell me I need to sit back and just not do something for a little while. And it's hard because, like you said, if you're relaxing, that's time you could be spending, being productive. And
Mm.
like you said, the older I'm getting, I'm starting to realize, I'm closer to dying than I am not dying.
Mm.
And so like I only got so much time left and I've got all this stuff I want to do. So yeah, I can kind of relate to the feeling of, being on edge and just like I can't relax. So I've got to be doing stuff.
The thing is, you're always close to dying. Like I've been stabbed
Right.
twice. I could be, like my friend's younger brother's friend tripped on a sidewalk and hit his head and just died immediately. He was like
Wow.
17 or something.
That's
Like
crazy.
you could die any day if you believe in yourself.
You just got to put your mind to it, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
And also like look, this is the thing. My husband has informed me that I now scream this sometimes when I wake up, and I don't remember doing that part, but he's like, it's very unsettling, please stop. I'm like, I will wake up and sit bolt upright in bed and just say, life is finite, and then just get out of bed and get started. And I do firmly believe it. It runs through my head every time some fuck is standing still on an escalator. I'm like,
Uh,
we made a way to get to the top of stairs faster so we could do something else, and you're just standing there. And like, fine, waste your life. I don't care about your life, but you're standing there like across, so I can't get past.
yeah.
These people should be thrown in a well.
It's like the people when you go to Walmart or any other store, they'll meet up with someone they know and they'll just sit and have a conversation in the middle of the aisle and it kind of just blocks you. Like, I'm glad for your cool little reunion, but like some of us have shit to do, so
Yeah.
please get out of the way.
Yeah, it is like it's a public declaration of nothing I'm doing is important enough for me to be hurrying.
Yeah,
Who wants to be that? It's awful.
exactly. Like, get in, get your shit, and get out. Like, go socialize in any other number of Starbucks or whatever that are on every corner of every neighborhood ever. There's
This is
tons of
the thing.
places for that.
This is the thing that like I get a little bit fed up with as well is that
Sure.
people will look. I have a lot of adventures, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I've got three memoirs out there already. And
Oh,
like,
wow.
look, I'm not referring to them as like these are fucking tomes that cover my entire existence or anything, but like
Yeah.
so Octopus is about 18 months of my life where I got divorced, stole a boat, tried to disappear at sea, got jerked off in Penn Station by a guy who I later found out was the villain from a documentary about tickling, moved to Hollywood, fell in love with an elderly Canadian dog breeder, and tried not to destroy him by turning into an octopus, which is a nightmare I still have. Now that's 18 months of my life. And
Wow.
people go, wow, a lot of stuff happens to you. I'm like, I gave you about 9 pages out of the 144 in that description. So like
Yeah.
whatever. I have another one about like sucking so much dick that I got the lump in my neck, and
Yeah.
like I got the time I got one of the times I got stabbed, one of the times I got mugged, one of the times someone used location services on Grindr to follow me home during COVID lockdowns, and then I have the other one is entirely written and drawn in the 3 weeks after Trump's inauguration, and it's me like reflecting on things from the past year. But the things from the past year that I'm reflecting on are like the time I had to steal underpants from a Grindr hookup during Baltimore Comic Con because I forgot to pack any. The and like them being really worried that they were going to be at the show. The time a random person in a building in New York gave me a big sack of 70s gay porn magazines that I then spent the whole day handing out to strangers. And it's all these things. Like the reason I was late to my signing at New York Comic Con in 2024 is because I got fucked by a 70-year-old trapeze artist. And like people say, wow, how much of this really happens? I'm like, all of it happens to me because I don't stand still on escalators because I'm always looking for something to happen. And when someone says, do you want to do this thing? If it looks interesting enough, or it looks like it's going to be more interesting than the thing I was doing, I will say yes.
Yeah.
What I'm making right now is this mixture of like painting and collage and sculpture and photography and like layer upon layer upon layer. And it's like it's holding my attention so deeply because it's something I've never done before. And it might absolutely not work. It might look fucking atrocious. I'm 28 pages in and it looks pretty fucking sick so far. But like, I don't know. Will I lose it? But like this is the thing. You just do shit. Have
Yeah.
adventures.
That's a good way to look at things, like, going back to, we're not getting any younger, just having that
Then
attitude about
people
just going
say,
and doing stuff is so freeing.
because then these people say like, "Oh, how does all this happen?" I'm like, "Because you're standing still in Starbucks. Because whatever." Like, I had a woman in New Orleans, who just overheard a conversation I was having, and she's like, "I really want to show you how my brain works. Will you come to my apartment?" I was like, "Sure." So we walked to her apartment, And she's just like a woman in her like late 40s, early 50s, maybe, just covered in tattoos. And she opens the door, and like the whole place is just overwhelmingly covered in art and art supplies. And every room has been turned into a like creative space. And she's like, this is how my brain works. I'm like, that's fascinating. And we like hung out for 30 minutes, and it turns out that she owns like one of my favorite bars in Seattle. And now I'm gonna probably be doing some custom dick art for her bathrooms. And it's like, yeah, that's how that happens. Because when the
Yeah.
person at the party said Richard's good at drawing dicks, I didn't say, oh no, no, I couldn't. Oh no, I couldn't. I said, fuck yeah, let me draw some goddamn hogs on these Fan Expo posters.
That's awesome. That's the kind of confidence I wish I had. I need to get better at it, but I'm horrible. I'm a horrible, horrible introvert, and the whole COVID lockdown kind of made that even worse. But something I need to work on doing is getting myself out there more and just being open to experiences and not, not saying no so much.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, so we talked a little bit about, you've been publishing comics since you were 7. What was it that got you interested in doing comics in the first place? Or what was it that got you interested in comics in the first place?
Money. It was just for money.
Yeah.
So I I'd never seen a comic book in real life. I'd seen them on TV shows, like like Bart Simpson reads Radioactive Man,
Yeah.
and Michelangelo reads comics that just say comics on them. You never know what they are. Um, and I thought this is an art form that used to exist but doesn't anymore, because why would we need still images if we have cartoons, right?
Sure.
And so I thought, if I make comics, and this is 7-year-old me, if I make a comic and I understand it's these boxes, and I understand like a word balloon, and I understand like these parts, I've seen enough parts of it. If I make this, I will be the only person in the entire world doing it, and I will become a millionaire.
Yeah.
I was very focused on becoming a millionaire at 7.
Sure.
And so I made my first comic, and I went to my school librarian, and so and I've told this story so many times, but like, who knows what the audience is for what thing. So here's a when people say like everyone breaks into comics in a different way, it's because it doesn't ever work twice. That's the thing. But the way I got my start was that the school library had just gotten in a VHS collection, and they'd really had to fight for it. And there'd been a lot of pushback that there were going to be videos amongst the books. And it had happened. And the librarian responsible for it was fucking thrilled. And I noticed that the security stickers on them were the exact same type as the ones at the like local video store, and that you could peel them off and stick them back on pretty easily. And no one takes them off because you need to have them on to be able to scan them back in to say you've returned it. It's not like you can't like it's not a helpful way to steal, because I did try that as well, obviously.
Right.
But I paid 4 kids $3 each to withdraw 3 tapes from the library each, and then bring them to me. I put them in my backpack, went to the video store, slid my backpack under the security scanner like bars things, because there were, and went into the adult section and swapped out all the tapes for some just an assortment of porn.
Okay.
And then returned all the videos to the library the next morning. They were scanned in from the covers. They didn't have to be opened,
Sure.
and were put back on the shelves. And I waited till I knew they'd be back on the shelves, but before anyone could have been in there to withdraw them. And I went in and I looked at her and I said, "There are 12 porn films in your library right now." And she laughed at me. And so I walked over and grabbed what looked like a random tape off the shelf and put it in. And it was the one that I had queued up to what I thought as a 7-year-old was a very hardcore scene. And I just stood there and like locked eyes with her as this like sex scene played out on the TV next to us. And then she like pressed stop and said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want free photocopying." And so I got 200 copies of my little 8-page comic made, and I took them to a school athletics day, and I sat next to the place selling this fucking awful, like watered down energy drink stuff. And I sold them for $2 a piece, and I made $400 from parents who felt sorry for me, basically, because they were like, "Isn't this cute and weird that this kid has this badly drawn ghost comic?" But I made $400, and so I bought a buttload of Power Rangers toys. And
Nice.
uh, yeah, and like I never stopped. Like I had the free photocopying now for the next couple of years, and I just would put out occasional little books. And then through high school, I was paying for my own photocopying, but I was like doing open mics as a stand-up comedian in high school. And so I started getting a little bit known. And so I was able to go to a bunch of like local businesses and say, like, hey, do you want to advertise in my comics? I'll have them at these stand-up shows. And so they did. And so then suddenly like all my printing was covered. And then and I was just like selling them around school, selling them wherever. And then by this point, I knew that comics existed. I'd seen them for real, but there were only, I was living in New Zealand. There were only four comic stores. So I'd never actually like seen a comic store.
Yeah.
And I said to a friend of mine, hey, we should like, let's just go into the densest part of the city and see if we can find a comic store. Because neither of us had a phone book and neither of us had the internet. And we thought like, surely there will just be like, there will be one somewhere in some little side street and it'll be a fun day. And we go in there and we're wandering around. I think I'm 16 at this point, and we see all these people lining up, and they're all like, some of them are in like, shitty costumes or whatever. And I'm like, what is this? And it turns out there is a comic convention happening, and it's a long line, and I don't want to wait in a long line. And so I walk around the back, and I see this guy unloading boxes of like powder mix mac and cheese stuff that they're going to put into the show bags as like a promotional thing.
Hmm.
And I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm unloading a truck." Because that he was like, "It's very obvious. I'm unloading a truck." And I said, "If I help, can you get me in here?" And he's like, "Okay." And so I just unload all this mac and cheese with this guy for 10 minutes instead of having to wait in line for an hour and a half. Because this is of course before the days of like pre-sale tickets. This is like everyone is paying when they get to the fucking door.
Yeah.
And so I walk into my first ever comic convention and I wander around the floor and I meet some comic creators and I find a comic store that has a booth and they are going out of business and selling everything at 80% off. And so
Wow.
I walked out of there with like like the solid list of all of the important Alan Moore big books that you can get, like V for Vendetta, Watchmen, From Hell. Um,
Yeah.
uh, the first fucking volume of Miracle Man I
Oh,
got for
wow.
$6. That book sells for like at the time was selling for like 1,500 the trade paperback. Like it was
Wow.
so rare, and they were just like, yeah, there you go. Obviously I got like Dark Knight Returns and a handful of other. I've got Mouse, I think, and then like a handful of like more modern stuff. Like I got the first volume of did I? Oh, I got the first issue of Fables. That was the only single issue
Mm.
of Fables, and then like spend the next week just like reading. Oh, and a big fucking stack of Ninja Turtles books, but all from like different publishers at different times. So like nothing in order, nothing connected. And so like my
Yeah.
full understanding of like I've watched every episode of the TV show, of every TV show, but like the my understanding of Ninja Turtles comics is all out of whack, just completely unhinged.
Yeah.
And then the next year they had a convention. I became friends with the people at the comic store, and I said, "Can I have space on your table to sell at the show?" And they said, "There's free space for local creators downstairs." And I said, "Yeah, and it's shitty foot traffic. I want to be where the action is. Put me with a real comic store, and people will then, like in their minds, they will align my work with that of the things on a real shelf." And that's been my approach ever since. Just like put yourself in the right place, take the bigger risk, and that was it. That was comics forever for me.
That's awesome. That's a really cool story. And that kind of goes along with, just being open to doing stuff and not being afraid to take chances. And you took a chance on yourself and it worked out. Very
And never
cool.
be afraid to do like a little bit of crime. Like don't do big crime, but like push the edges of what's a little bit criminal.
Yeah. Yeah. No one ever, it's not gonna hurt anybody.
I was
Long as you're not hurting anybody, it's okay.
I was in I was in a store, with a friend of mine, and I'm not going to do the thing that my mother does, where I mention the race of someone and it never comes back. But this is important. I'm For anyone who's just hearing this, I'm a white guy. I'm in a store. with my friend who's black, and a security guard starts following us around the store. And I get very like angry about it. And so I say to him, I'm like, do you know how fucking cartoonishly racist you're being right now following this guy around? And the security guard looks at me and says, I'm not following him, I'm following you. And I was like, oh shit, what, why? And he said, because as you walked in, you referred to the self checkout as the implied checkout. So I know you're going to steal. Like, fuck, you got me. I was absolutely going to steal some stuff.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Uh,
Now, so when it comes to creating, you're an artist and you're a writer. Was there one that came before the other? And what was it that inspired you to, get into art in the first place?
so I have like terrible eyesight. One of my eyes is basically functionally dead, and the other one sees about 3%. But I have a chemical imbalance, so I process stuff really fast. And so the eye that doesn't see much wobbles around, and I'm able to like I'm considered fully blind, but
Sure.
I obviously see and function and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't really process 3 dimensions. Everything looks pretty flat to me and pretty inconsistent. And so I do a lot of math in my head and stuff to navigate space. But I started drawing really young because it was my way of like making the world make sense. And my parents, my father is like very insistent that his children must prove they are smart, you know. Or he was like that with his first three, and then he had to sort of give up with the fourth. But um he really had to make sure we were like all tested for our IQ and everything and compete against each other and that.
Oh,
And one
wow.
of the things he said was that if you didn't know how to read and write by the time you start kindergarten, you'll be behind everyone else. And I don't think that's true. But I believed him at the time. And so I
Sure.
learned to read and write on them to at least, a certain level before I turned 4. And I started making books. And I wrote a book called Donald Duck and the Haunted House. Um, I think if I really like dig through the recesses of my memory, I think partially based on a video game we had. I think there is but I think it's Mickey in the Haunted House.
Mhm.
Um, but I liked Donald Duck a lot because he had no pants. And so I wrote this book, and it was about uh, Donald is going to a haunted house with Mickey because they're going to go look for ghosts. And Mickey doesn't show up, so Donald goes in on his own. And in the attic of the house, because I didn't have an attic, so I was obsessed with attics. In the attic of the house, there was a ghost, and the ghost had no friends. And then Donald realizes that he has no friends either. And so then he takes a gun out and shoots himself in the face and becomes a ghost so that he can stay and be friends with the ghost forever. And I made the book. I taped it all together and all the things to make it look super professional. And I took it into kindergarten with me on like in my first week to like show off like, hi, big reading writing genius boy here who makes books. And I
Yeah.
got in so much trouble. And like my parents were called in. There was a whole meeting like, is this kid okay? Something's really going wrong here. He's drawing Donald Duck shooting himself. And I was delighted. Like I'd never had that much attention before. I'd never been in trouble for like creating something before.
Yeah.
Uh, and it felt incredible. And then that became like the book was taken off me. And then it became a thing where like kids were trying to figure out what had happened to the book. People were asking me about the book and like, could we do a heist and get into the teacher's office and get the book back so that other kids could see it? And no, we failed at that. But like it was the most alive I'd ever felt. And then soon after that, Alana Alexander painted a big stripe across the back of my favorite Smurf shirt. That really ruined that day for me. And I will never forgive her. She's one of my best friends to this day, but I'll never forgive her for that. Um, and yeah, so it just like it just I suddenly knew the power of combining words and pictures. And so I made a lot more books after that. I did like a retelling of the Three Little Pigs, which was mostly about farts. Although one thing I would often fuck up with is I would make the book first, like tape all the pieces of paper together first, and then just like work to that length. And so my version of Three Little Pigs, it ends with the third pig just sitting on top of his house made of bricks that he's just completed. Like the wolf never arrives because I spent so much time on the building.
That's funny. Um, yeah, that's wild. Did you ever get the book back, the Donald Duck one?
No. The only two books that I have from back in that era, I've got the Three Little Pigs one, and I have one called The Life of Daniel the Hobo, and
Hmm.
it's about a dirty hobo named Daniel, who and that's how he is described, a dirty hobo named Daniel. And I think we had. Do you know what a hobo stove is?
I don't.
So this is a thing. It's like a very New Zealand thing. You take a like the biggest spaghetti can you can get, empty it out, clean it off, and then you like on the bottom of it, you puncture like holes around the edge, and then you cut two squares out of the sides of the top and tip it upside down and shove sticks underneath through those square cut out holes, light the sticks, and you can use the top as a little stovetop.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And if you go to like any every school will, when you're about 6 or 7, you will make a hobo stove, and everyone will do it, and you'll do it all on these big folding tables. And so if you go to any place where you can rent tables, or any place that has rented tables, wooden rented tables in New Zealand, every single fucking one of them has a big black burn mark where a hobo stove has gone wrong.
Oh wow.
You can guess which country you're in if you find a circular burn mark on a wooden table. Um, but so this got me obsessed with hobos, and I'd always wanted to run away, but I didn't. I knew I needed a bindle, so I used to collect sticks that I thought I could make a good bindle with, but I never
Yeah.
had a big enough handkerchief to put anything I wanted in it. Um, and so that was like a real limitation for me. A lot of my stuff when I was growing up was like, if I can make it look right, it'll work. Like I don't have a leather wallet, but I have a lot of brown felt tip pens that I can color in pieces of paper with, and maybe that'll turn it into leather, and then I
Yeah.
can tape it together and make wallets out of it.
Sure.
Um, but I wrote this book about Daniel the Hobo. And in the story, uh, on the first day he finds a job selling tires, and he gets $5, and so he spends it on no, yeah, he gets $5, and he buys some newspapers to sleep under, and he finds some alcohol cans with some still in them, and he gets drunk and falls asleep. On the second day, he gets a job, and he makes $10, and he has McDonald's. And then on the third day, he gets a better job and makes $20, and he gets a whole bucket of KFC. And then it just ends with, and no one knows what happened to him after that.
What the hell of a cliffhanger.
A lot of third act collapse in my early work.
Now, you had mentioned about your eyesight. Despite your eyesight, you make incredible work. Has that been something you've dealt with since you were a kid, or did something happen as you got older?
No, it's been since I was born.
Oh, wow.
Two conditions. One is I'm terrible with this. I never know the names of the things. One of the conditions is basically you get these little cracks on the back of your eyeballs when you're a fetus, and they like basically they heal up when your brain goes into a normal sleep pattern. And so most people have no ill effects from this. My brain doesn't go into a normal sleep pattern. I release serotonin, melatonin, and dopamine constantly, not in cycles all at once. So I'm
Wow.
technically always in fight or flight mode. That's why I sleep so little and why I wake up so fast. Um, but it meant that the cracks in the back of my eyeballs basically expanded, and as the optic nerve tried to attach, it just kind of grabbed on where it could, and so it's just pure chance that I have any vision at all. But then it's that chemical imbalance that makes me process everything so fast. So yeah, they thought I was like completely and totally and like in every logical sense, I am completely and totally blind, even though I can see. Like by their numbers, I'm blind by
Sure.
reality.
Yeah.
And so there's a few, like they did a lot of testing on me when I was a kid, and I had thought it was all like nightmares, because you're not meant to form memories that young. But like I
Right.
have very clear memories of them like taping all the things to my head to do the readings and that kind of shit. And I remember the day that I started reacting to lights, and my mother freaking out, but it was at her aunt's funeral. It was someone's funeral. And I can very like I can't remember anything that was being said or anything like that, but I can very clearly see this, and I can very clearly see like all the people being angry and dressed in black.
That's crazy. Yeah, I only asked because about 10 years ago I had something happen where my right eye, like it doesn't see very good anymore either. It's
Okay.
basically just decoration. Um, it sees a little bit, but it's kind of like if I use the example if you were wearing a pair of contacts and took one of them out, or if you pop one of the lenses out of your glasses, that's basically how I see now. So it kind of works a little bit, but yeah, it's breaking news for a lot of people that don't know that because there's a lot of people that don't know that my right eye doesn't work super good anymore. But yeah,
Have
so
you
I
started
was
like
curious.
is have you reached a point where your brain is kind of correcting for it and basically just shutting your right eye down?
Kinda like for a while it was weird because like I would look at stuff and you've got clear out of one eye and it's very blurry out of the other eye, but as time's gone on, it's kind of evened out a little bit where if I look straight at something, I only see like a little bit of distortion. The biggest thing I have an issue with is depth perception. That's totally gone. Or if I work in IT and if I used to do a lot of hardware repair for IT, and if I needed to look behind a TV or a monitor and I needed to look on the right side, I couldn't see behind at all. I'd have to see it from the one side or I couldn't see it at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that's really easy to get around with that depth perception is start figuring out all the things that are standard sizes. So like a door is like two 2 foot 2 feet and 8 inches
Sure.
wide. I know all this shit in metric, but I'm trying to be kind to Americans. Like it's 80 centimeters wide is a standard door.
Yeah.
So if you're looking down a hallway and you don't know, and like if you start walking slowly, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you figure out what is the average length of your step and then how many doors are in this hallway, you can be doing the math in your head. You know how many steps it is, so you're not going to bang into anything on the way.
That I don't have too much of an issue with. It's more like the bigger stuff is okay. It's more like the fine stuff
Right.
like clipping nails or using scissors, stuff like that. That stuff I
Oh,
have a
okay.
little bit of a hard time with, or even
Yeah.
like threading a needle, which is not something I do often, but I have daughters, so it happens sometimes. Um, I just can't. I'll have to like close one eye to try to get close. So it's really like the fine motor skill stuff. That stuff I kind of have a little bit of an issue with, but I just have to be extra careful.
So for about $3 or so on Amazon, you can buy a pack of sewing emergency sewing kits that all come with 12 pre-threaded needles with different colors of thread.
That's good to know because
I,
my
I,
my
I put stickers on them. I attach QR code stickers and then stickers with a cover, a comic cover on them, and I sell them for $10 a piece for X5s of Frankenstein digital downloads.
that's awesome. Yeah, my
It's
youngest daughter is getting big into cosplay and she wants to kind of do more stuff like that. So that's good to know.
yeah, they're really useful. And Yeah, no, I have because I have to get so close to see what I'm doing. Like I
Yeah,
draw like this basically,
I get
but
that.
like, clipping like it used to be so much easier to clip my toenails because I was
Yeah,
like 40, so like
yeah,
I could bend around and get my foot like up to my face to do it, and now
yeah,
it's like, I know that if I'm gonna clip my fucking toenails, I need to stretch first, and I'm gonna hurt the next day.
yep. Yeah, it's hard. Like I'll go to clip mine and I have to like zoom in or zoom out really far and then I can zoom in a little bit and it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's tough.
The only like my mother always taught me to be very embarrassed of my eyesight.
Yeah.
Like it was very important that I had to not look like there was something wrong with me. Um, and so like she would like really like she because she didn't want me to be a wimp about it, and so she would really like test me. So she would wait till I was talking about something, and she'd stand on my blind side while we were walking around a shopping mall or whatever, and then she'd just duck into a store, wait till I was far enough away that I wouldn't be able to see her, but she could still see me, and then yell my name, and then like watch me just be like a lost kid in a mall to make sure I could function, right?
Wow.
And now, as an adult, I have all these workarounds. Like I can't read a fucking menu on a above a counter, so I'm having to like zoom in with my phone camera, and it works really well. But then, if anyone ever like looks at me funny, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just sending a picture of the menu to my friends who are coming, so they can order. I can order for them." Like I'm so embarrassed of the fact that I'm disabled. It's very stupid.
Yeah, it's okay. I
All
mean,
these,
it's
all these
it's
young people who are like completely okay with things, and I'm just like a broken mess.
I mean, it's kind of, I just turned 41 this year and I think it's kind of like the generation we grew up in where it's like you had to be embarrassed if there was something wrong with you. You had to kind of hide it so people didn't really know it's and now it's kind of getting more acceptable to not be okay, which I think is definitely a good change for sure.
Mm.
So one more thing really quick. I promise we're gonna get to your book. I promise. One other thing I wanted to talk about was you recently just posted about a very big accomplishment that I wanted to spend a minute talking about. You just drew your 1000th professional dick. So why don't we talk about that for a minute?
Well, because now you're 250 dicks behind. That's why.
That, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Sorry about that.
No
Um,
worries.
yeah. So, I mean, that is the book we're talking about, though. So, like the little book of superhero dicks.
Yes,
Um, we're I mean, like I told the origin story of the dicks. Someone, I drew them on posters, and now I draw them in books, and that's it. Like I have drawn dicks my whole life. Like I love drawing. I love dicks, obviously. Like
sure.
that's my favorite thing. Never seen a
Yeah,
dick. But I was more interested in like fixing other people's dicks than drawing them for myself.
sure.
So I used to like go if I'd find like a dick on a bathroom wall or a school desk or whatever, I would just go and add like shading and depth and give some like heft to the balls, that kind of thing. I
Yeah,
want the dicks to be like art because like what I think what makes my dicks successful for people is that like they are drawn with love. They're not a goof.
yeah,
Uh, Photographs of dicks are always so aggressive or poorly taken, and drawings of dicks are always so goofy
yeah,
or aggressive. There's nothing in between, and so I'm trying to find a way to be like the dick itself is art. Dicks are incredibly varied. Um, a lot of people think that there's like five kinds of dicks, and like no, there's so much variation with wrinkles and veins and width and length and angle and like how much foreskin there is. There's so much. I mean, even just like the texture of the glands. There's like I can think of 10 different levels of like shininess, that I have to think about when I'm drawing.
yeah.
Um, and I love them, but I started drawing them professionally in at Toronto Comic Con last year. I don't count the 16 coffee dicks and I don't count the 57 poster dicks because they were like I didn't yet know what it was. It was like I have drawn for sale or for social media and then sold later currently 1,250 dicks. Oh no, 1,251. I did one more dick after that point yesterday. For someone. Someone wanted a dictopus. So I did a dick with 8 tentacles for them, but I still managed to get the balls in there. I was really proud of that. I think
That's
I'm gonna do a
awesome.
whole book of like dicks of the deep, or just call it deep dick, where it's all like deep sea creatures as dicks.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, so that's cool. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about that because that's a huge thing. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you, and all of them different.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't think I've. I mean, like I have some favorites in terms of like ones for conventions. Like I'll quite often draw the Ninja Turtles as dicks.
yeah.
Uh, Actually, genuine fucking career highlight for me. Last week in New Orleans, I had drawn all four of the turtles as dicks, and I'd forgotten that the cast of the first Turtles movie were there, and they walked past, saw them, and freaked out because I had accurately guessed which of them were circumcised.
That's fantastic.
That was a huge moment for me.
That's
And
awesome.
then Judith Hogue, who played April, was very upset that I hadn't drawn an April dick. And I was like, I've drawn April as a dick so many times, just not today. I'm so sorry.
That's fantastic. That first
Yeah,
movie is
yeah.
incredible.
I've never seen it. That's a joke. I'm a crazy Turtle fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I'll draw, I draw Mr. Potato Dick, usually once a month or so. Someone always asks for it, and D-Rex, which is my dick T-Rex. And actually, both of those are going to be uh polished up a little better for my next book, which is Dixar, the Dicks of Pixar.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite ones recently you did was I think it was the chicken one, but you said it's but with the New Zealand accent.
Oh no, no, it's a duck
That's what
because
it was. That's
yeah,
what
it's
it
a
was. Yeah,
duck
yeah, yeah.
because New Zealanders say dick is duck.
I thought that was funny. That was one of my favorites. And your story about the kids seeing your blue sky and then
Oh,
the mom explaining it, that was That cracked me up. That was so good. So, now I do want to talk about your book, The Little Book of Superhero Dicks, coming tomorrow, which this will be next week, so we'll be 1 week into it being on Kickstarter. So, for those that don't know about The Little Book of Superhero Dicks, why don't we take a minute to talk about it?
I mean, the clue is in the title. It is a collection of 24 dicks as superheroes. These are not the dicks of superheroes. That is so important. You are not going to see what Green Lantern's dick really looks like. You are going to see what if a dick were the Green Lantern? What if a lumpy shriveled dick wearing a Green Lantern ring was projecting a much better dick out of it? What if a withered, limp dick surrounded by kryptonite was there for Superman? What if Wonder Woman, as a dick, had the bracelets as a cock ring and ball stretcher and was shooting out a golden lasso of piss? What if the Black Canary had a screaming, wobbly foreskin and like the balls in the bra with the fishnet over it?
That's incredible. So, what was the inspiration behind, the superheroes as a theme?
Um, I wanted to have so this book is the first time it's ever going to be available online. It was done as a con exclusive last year, and this new version is an expanded version of it. And everyone always says to me, like, do you have any superhero comics? And my answer is always either I have one or I'm sold out of that one. And so now when people say, because I always say to people at conventions, like, what kind of comics do you like? And people will have like a favorite. And now I got 24 chances that if they say one of their favorites, it's going to be in my book, and I can say, here it is, right here for you. And on a whim, right before San Diego Comic Con, I think like 4 days before the show, I just thought, fuck it, let's do it. So I drew all the dicks and sent them off to be like printed as like a rush order, and I got 250 copies for that con, and I thought that'll last me till the end of the year. This will be like a little gag thing alongside. Sold out in one weekend.
Oh, wow.
I got another 750 printed. And I was like, I'm limiting this to 1,000. This is the con exclusive. And now I'm down to 4 copies left of those.
Wow.
And since then, I've put out Dick Retreat, my book of Halloween dicks. And so I haven't even been taking the superhero dick to cons for quite a while. So it's just completely unavailable for people. And I'm so much better at drawing dicks now than I was even in July. And so I'm going in and I'm retouching them, and I'm changing some and adding 4 new ones. And people are going to get like a really special book of superhero dicks.
That's fantastic. So the Kickstarter, we mentioned it launches on the 20th, which is tomorrow. By the time you guys are going to be watching this, it'll been out for a little over a week. And I know you said you haven't, built the campaign for it yet, but is there like different tiers or different things that are going to be available in the Kickstarter that we can talk about?
Yeah, so there'll be the PDF version, obviously. There'll be the book version, and I will be making available the Dick Retreat book as part of a kind of catch up bundle pack. And then for a little bit extra, I will do a 1 minute Dick sketch on the back cover of your copy, and you get to choose cut or uncut. Um, People are always telling me I need to have like a quick remark dick that I do, and I'm like, no, I will get bored. I'm just going to make sure I'm really good at doing 1 minute dicks for people that are all like there'll be some similarities, but like I want to have variation. So you get to choose cut or uncut, and I draw you a sick hog on the back of your book. And then the next tier up is the mystery dick, where you will get the book and an original dick drawing from either this book, from the Halloween book, from the card game that's in development, or from just one of my social media posts. I have a huge stack of dicks and envelopes with question marks on them, and they'll all be selected from there. I sell them as like cheap adoption dicks at shows for people who don't have the imagination to come up with the customized dick requests. And then obviously a fully customized dick. Yeah, you get to choose everything: hard, soft, veiny, smooth, cut, uncut, hairy, shaved. Um, cock ring, ball stretcher, piss, jizz, any theme, whatever you want. During the Dick Retreat campaign, I had like a lot of people um with like very specific requests, like based on like their own dicks or on their own like or like variations of their dicks or a dick that would have something extra on it. Like and and people I always say like I'm pretty open to anything. I have reserved the right to say no if it's too weird. I had a long conversation with someone at the show this weekend who wanted a Grogu dick, and I was like, no, because that's Baby Yoda. And they're like, yeah, but he's
Right.
technically 150 years old. I'm like, yeah, but I could just do a Yoda dick if you want. I'll do a Yoda dick happily. But no, I don't care if he's 150 years old. He's still a baby. I'm
Yeah.
also not drawing Benjamin Button's dick when he's an old man because I know what that means.
Right. Well, yeah, I was just gonna ask if you've ever had a request that was too weird, but I guess we kind of just nailed that.
Um, I've had like not really. Like, because even that, I was able to negotiate it to Yoda. And like, I don't think a Yoda dick and a Grogu dick look all that different. I'm sure they're going to tell people it's Grogu because that's
Sure.
their choice, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't, I try to, I try to avoid any dicks that would be considered presidential taste. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are some that have been like sort of upsetting when they're finished. Like, a friend of mine got a vasectomy last year, and a mutual friend commissioned me to do a dick that was having the balls being cut off by scissors and all of these little sperm with faces on them flying out to escape.
Jeez.
Um, so that was quite good.
Wow.
Someone wanted they said they challenged me to draw the most bisexual dick I could. And so I drew like this big hog uh cut but with big tits, and it was shooting cum that was landing on its own tits, and then on the balls in the middle of the balls was a vagina.
Wow.
So that was, but again, this is like that's not the stuff I'm doing day to day. That's not the kind of
Sure.
dicks I draw for my own happiness.
Sure.
But like if people have ideas. I've had a lot of really like great encounters with people. So one big change that happened in my life since I started drawing dicks is I now get more dick pics from women than I've ever received from men. So
Wow.
obviously I get a lot of dick pics from men on various apps, what have you. But
Sure.
since I started doing this, straight couples will come up to my table at a con. The husband or boyfriend will look uncomfortable at how happy his wife or girlfriend is about the dicks.
Yeah.
Then the wife or girlfriend will quietly take my card. 10 minutes later, I will get a text that says, "Hi, it's Kathleen. I was this person. Remember me? Blah, blah, blah. We talked about this. Anyway, here's a picture of my husband's dick. Can you make it look nice for me?" I have a folder in my Dropbox called Husband Dicks that is 527 pictures deep at this point.
My God.
Mhm.
That's incredible.
My life is fantastic. Um, I I had every now and again, like I had a guy in his 20s who was really pressuring his dad to get me to draw to buy a dick pic, but then really pressuring his dad to describe his own dick to me.
Yeah.
And it was very funny, and I enjoyed it a lot because this man was like, "You don't want to draw my dick," and I was like, "Sir, you're exactly the kind of dick I love to draw. Please tell me more about your dick." And he described it to me, and I drew it. The conversation ended with me saying, "And do you want it to be coming or anything?" And he went, "Oh, I don't know." And his son hit him in the chest and went, "Oh, go on, Dad, get a cum shot." And again, real
Wow.
hype.
Sure.
So he pays me the $20, comes back 10 minutes later. I've drawn the dick for him. I give it to him, and he's like really overwhelmed. He's like, "This is so accurate." I'm like, "You're welcome." And then that night, I get a message, and it's just a photo of my drawing of the dick next to his hard dick. And he's like, "I promise this isn't sexual. I just need to let you know." It's not right. Someone's trying to call me.
No
I
worries.
just I just needed to let you know that that you got it right.
Wow. I guess that's a good sign, right?
So that's been one of those like really special weird things.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, after this book comes out, what do you have coming out after this that we can talk about? I know there was another book that we were previously planned to talk about, but that had to get delayed a little bit.
Yeah, so that's delayed because there's another book with a similar title, and they just don't want there to be any confusion on Kickstarter.
Sure.
Uh, so in February, I'm launching a book, the first part of a four-part series called Starfucker. It is about a it's about like an ageless, immortal woman who is this being of pure inspiration. And her immortality has always been linked to the way that she's abstracted, because she disappears into paintings or poetry or songs or stories, whatever.
Yeah.
And now in the age of photography and social media, especially, and this kind of like 360 overview of everyone, people like her are becoming more sort of solid state essentially, and she's decaying. And it's her realizing that. And it's the story is set across like most of it is across one night. Her husband um has committed suicide. Her husband was a big celebrity, and he's committed suicide, and she's very much blaming herself because she thinks that he believes that all of his ideas were hers, and it was too much for him. And his fans are very angry. So like she is becoming mortal at the point, and everyone like his fans are blaming her, and she is becoming mortal at the same time that she is becoming the most hated woman on the planet. And so it's about like the way that the way that grief doesn't get to be experienced when you're being observed, and the way that the inspiration that she gives people, which she usually has good control over, is kind of spilling out of her right now at the same time that she is physically not capable of doing most of the things she would normally do.
That's crazy. I'm excited to hear more about it. I know I saw your pictures about the process of creating the cover, and there are some wild pictures, so I'm very excited to see what the final product is.
I think you saw these. I did post the final cover. It's the picture of the woman's face where on the mirror, and the back of her face has been scooped out and turned into an ashtray.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I did see that. That's okay. I wasn't sure. That's cool though. I'm
Yes,
excited.
that's the cover for that one.
Very, very cool.
I'm doing like one of the covers, which is really hard, and this is this 82 pages in 26 days thing.
Yeah.
Uh, for one of the covers, I've designed a magazine cover, like a tabloid magazine, sort of like a People magazine kind of look, with a picture of her and her husband on it that says, and the headline is she just a star fucker? And I've had like 500 of those printed, and then I'm wallpapering two walls of my garage with them, and then using all the ones that are left over, and basically dipping them in a clear like heat melted wax, and so I can shape them. And I'm making a like Victorian morning dress,
Oh wow.
be able to like hold its shape entirely. So I'm using the paper as fabric and making this thing with a corset and a big bustle and everything.
Yeah.
And it'll be like frozen there empty to just be this picture of this empty dress where she is like entirely represented by the way she is talked about.
That's crazy. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be awesome. All right, sir. So before I let you go, I usually like to ask people, if
Oh no,
they,
you're not, because like I got this little grin on my face here because you're like, oh yeah, he's got one other thing coming. No, 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 Chris, this is Richard. He has 1,000 other things coming. Would you like to hear about the others?
yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely. What else do you have coming after that?
Okay, so after that, I got a book called Oops All Richards, which is a new memoir about it's set across a few weeks last year where shit just got really out of hand. I'm running so fast that I completely lose track, and little things become big obstacles. And I went on a mushroom trip with my husband on a train around LA, and became absolutely convinced that the train stations were fake and that my husband was working against me to get me away from Hollywood. And so these different versions of me split off, and then one of them goes to the convention the week after, where like on the way, like I locked my keys in my office, and I had to punch my way through the through the window to get my keys to get in my bag, and then ended up showing up at the airport with like a Ziploc bag tied around my hand that's just filled with blood because I didn't have anything else to like stop the bleeding on my hand from all the glass.
Oh my God.
Um, or like ended up getting kicked out of my hotel because it turns out this hotel just runs a scam where they steal all your stuff from your room. And when I questioned them on it, they called the police. I was like, but my
Wow.
stuff is all gone. And they're like, no, that's impossible. I was like, it's all gone. I was like, do you have a lost and found? And they're like, no, we don't need one. And I'm like, is it because you steal everyone's stuff? So I'm sort of doing this like swirling thing about like how broken does a person become before you throw them out. So it's like, how many pieces of my jigsaw are missing, and can I merge back with these other versions of myself to try and fix it? Um, so that's, fun and light. I'm working on a thing called Bob Dylan Sopranos McDonald's, or BDSM, which is about the way that meaning changes. Like, if something becomes famous enough, the meaning of it, the meaning of the original thing gets obfuscated. So thinking about the way that, like, any kid named Dylan is probably named after Bob Dylan, but Bob Dylan's real name is Robert Zimmerman, and he maybe changed his name because of Dylan Thomas, but maybe that's also a lie because there's actually a whole lot of other names he used at different points that are just the same combinations of words. Or when we think of McDonald's, we don't think of like an old Scottish farmer. We think of fucking Ronald and his fun restaurant. When
Yeah.
we hear Sopranos, we don't think of singers. We think of Tony Soprano. And so it's this sort of exploration of the way those three examples and various other ones have changed meanings, while also looking at how famous do I have to become as Richard before my mother stops thinking of me, stops being afraid of me on some level because she named me after her abusive father. And then after that, and there'll be dick books in between. So dicks are the dicks of Pixar. The cover is already done. It's a beautiful watercolor painting of Carl from Up with a balloon tied around his penis that just says "ready to disappoint his wife one more time." Um, I'll be doing I don't want to give away too much about this one, but
Okay.
I've kind of become acquaintances with some people who were planning to assassinate James Gunn and make their own Superman movie with the help of their friend Henry Cavill, who's definitely just a chatbot that they think is the real guy. And I'm using
Wow.
that as a structure to just say, like, if they are allowed to make, and by the way, I've read their Superman script, it's unhinged. But God, I really hope they never find out about this because they might kill me. But I'm using that as a structure to say, like, if they can do this, if I take them at face value and they get to make a Superman movie, then why can't I just make all the comics that people like, that other people want to make, like other people's characters? So, like, why don't I just make the "What if Jimmy Olsen were a bigot" comic, or like, what if there was a fentanyl crisis in the bottle city of Kandor? And just, it's a parody, it's a satire, it's something, but like,
Right.
it's absolutely just me saying, like, fuck it, I'm gonna do that. What if Commissioner Gordon fucked me? What if that was a comic that people could read? What if that was a thing that people could pick up off the shelf and watch Commissioner Jim Gordon fucking Richard Fairgray on the bat signal? Don't you want to see that? Doesn't everybody want to see? Had a great moment yesterday at the con where I said to a crowd of people, "Well, everybody loves dicks," and a guy I sort of know was walking by and looked at me and he goes, "I'm gonna go buy a taco now." Oh, that was just a beautiful rejoinder. So I'm going to work on that one, and then this ongoing project that may or may not be finished ever. I don't know, but I got to put a lid on it somehow. Um, 3.5 years ago, I saw Batman Returns for the first time, and during the scene where the Penguin is eating the fish with his bare hands, and Max Schreck is kind of bullying him into being a politician, and he looks all sad and scared, I got rock hard, and I'm a bottom pretty through and through. And I watched that scene. I'm like, I want to fuck the Penguin. I feel like I could fix him if I just showed him love. And that's really unhealthy. So I started working on this project to try and, like, work through those feelings.
Sure.
And so it's called "I'm Only Drawing Danny DeVito as the Penguin Until I Stop Wanting to Fuck Him," an in-depth review of Batman Returns. So that one I can get away
Wow.
with
Okay.
technically a review, but I'm
Yeah.
200 Danny DeVito deep and I still want to fuck him. I just bought a flashlight and attached it to a penguin action figure. So I don't know how that's going.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else you got coming?
I mean, well, those
That
those
you,
are
that
my
you can talk about.
well, look, the new version of Blastosaurus will happen at some point. Uh I've got, I've been doing these little 100-page horror books lately.
Yeah.
But what I do is I take, like, a small creepy idea and try to tease it out to find out how it's creepy from every angle. So by the end of the book, you have this, like, swirling miasma of fear, and the book itself becomes more of a cursed object.
Yeah.
The way I do them is, as soon as I have an idea for one, I just take 3 Ritalin and I work nonstop until it's finished. And if I
Wow.
finish 100 pages in 24 hours, then the book gets published. If I don't, then the book gets scrapped. And so I had 8 of them out last year, and so I can never predict when a new one of those is coming. Just the idea strikes me, and I'm like, I can give up 24 hours of other work to do this, but I can't allow any more than that.
That's fair. Wow.
I
Well,
think,
there's a lot of stuff coming from you. It's very
yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Very,
How
very
many
cool.
comics can I make before I die?
There you go. Kind of bringing us full circle. Well, so one thing I want to go out on is, I usually have my guests share a bit of creative advice for the people who are listening. So if I were to ask you to share some creative advice, what would you say? What would you share with the listening audience?
I mean, I think I kind of said it earlier, like take bigger risks and just get a little bit criminal. Like the truth is, if you're wanting a career in something like comics or writing or whatever, no one owes that to you and no one asks you to do it. There are so many easier ways to make money. Just like become a professional basketball player. They get paid heaps.
Yeah,
But just push the limits of what you can do, push the limits of what people tell you you can do, and like be absolutely willing to find the obsession and then work into that obsession because it's the only way you're going to make interesting and personal work.
that's good advice. Take chances because, that's the thing that a lot of people have a hard time doing is they'll talk about they have an idea for something and they just talk and talk and talk, but they never actually take the chance on doing it. So that's good advice.
Exactly.
All right, sir. Where can people stay up to date with things coming from you on social media, website, anything like that? Let's share with everybody where they can find you.
So Dicks by Richard on Blue Sky is really the only place I post. I post to Facebook occasionally, but they get a little bit more banned there. Um, Dickstarter.net will take you to the superhero dick book campaign. And then kickrichards.com will take you to whatever my current campaign for non-dick stuff is. And yeah, I used to own horsegoogle.org, but I let that one slip, and I really regret that. I bought it while I was drunk, and I never figured out the best joke to do with it. So what it would do is it would just redirect to a Google search for horses near me. So it's just a really helpful way to find horses. If I knew how to code, what I wanted to do was set it up so that it would look like Google, but with horse pictures on it. And whatever you tried to search for, it would return that Google result plus horse.
That's awesome.
I don't have that one anymore. I also don't have mouthandbuttstuff.church anymore. I also don't have meatysandwich.guru anymore. I've given up a lot of great websites, all right?
Those are pretty great ones.
But
So
yeah, Fixed by Richard. And I'm the only Richard Fairgray in the world, so I'm very easy to find.
there you go. Now, for me, I want to thank Polygon Horizon. Their song Pizza Force is the song we use for the show. So make sure you go check them out on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. They're great guys. Go check them out. You can find Fueled by Weird on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I've got an email address, fueledbyweird@gmail.com. Hit me up. If you want to be on the show, you want to talk about any kind of weird, nerdy thing, I'm here for it. Fueled by Weird on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. I've also got a link tree. I did take the time to do a link tree finally. I hate the website address. It's because it's linktr.ee, which I think is crazy. It's hard to remember. They should just do linktree.com. I don't know why they don't do that. Um, check out Hassel Hutchison. He's
Cute. Look at that's cute and good. That's great. Linktree.ee. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
that's it. Yeah, it's hard to remember, I think sometimes, but yeah, it's a good shorthand, I guess.
My friend Aaron, who does F and Birds, his website is eatf.art.
That's fantastic. Check out Hassel Hutchison, my good friend. He has a channel, the Nerdy Manroom Show. He's got lots of good entertainment over there. The Nerdy Manroom Show, Hassel's Review, Card Subject to Change, a bunch of new stuff. Also check out Stay Weird Network. It's our podcast network dedicated to bringing some awesome back to the internet. Check us out at Stay Weird Network on YouTube and Instagram. We've also got an email, stayweirdnetwork@gmail.com. We've got some new stuff over there. He's starting to do shorts about hidden horror movies, and I've got a new series called Fueled by Music where I just share music that I think you should listen to. If you like the show, please leave a review and tell your friends because word of mouth is my friend. And remember, kids, it's only weird if you make it weird, so make it real weird. And make sure you check out Richard. His Kickstarter's coming soon. We'll make sure we get the links out to everybody so you guys can all check it out and help spread the word. And thank you so much for joining me tonight, Richard. I really appreciate it, man.
It was great. I'm gonna go eat some mac and cheese.
Perfect.